What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. As always, my name is G. Glad to have you all back here. I just want to make a quick reminder that if you would like to support me and all my YouTube adventures, you can definitely do so by liking this video. It'll help me out tremendously with the YouTube's algorithm. And if you're new to the channel and you want to know what I'm all about, I am simply just a guy that likes playing video games. I do commentary in regards to news, current events, reports, and all that good stuff. So if that's something that you'll be interested in watching, definitely consider subscribing. It's completely free and you can always unsubscribe at any time. But with that being said, let's get straight to the point of this video. So right off the bat, as you can probably see from the title of the video, about 80% of you might not even be interested in what I'm about to say here because, you know, let's be honest, most of these things I'm about to say might not even relate to you. But if you are one of those few 20% that are interested in what this video is about, definitely stick around to the end of the video, as we are going to kind of discuss some key points about this subject that I've been pretty passionate about for the past maybe 4 years. So with that being said, let's get to the point of this video here. And this is in regards to the ADA Act of 1990, or the Americans with Disability Act. So like I mentioned right off the bat, if you don't have a disability, none of this is really going to apply to you, because fortunate for you, you probably won't ever have to face this issue when you apply for jobs or, you know, try to do anything in general when it comes to like the general public and stuff like that. So consider yourself lucky. But unfortunately, there are people out there who are born with disabilities, whether they're minor disabilities, you know, mental disabilities, or maybe even severe ones. Unfortunately, sometimes we, as the people, you know, part of this, you know, community with disabilities, we do face a lot of, you know, discrimination, whether they say it bluntly to our faces or not. And it's very, you know, unfortunate. So for those who are not familiar with the Americans with Disability Act of 1990, I am going to read this passage here. So the Americans with Disability Act of 1990, or the ADA, is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination based on disability. It affords similar protections against discrimination to Americans with disabilities as the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which made discrimination based on race, religion, sex, national origin, and other characteristics illegal, and later sexual orientation. In addition, unlike the Civil Rights Act, the ADA also requires covered employers to provide reasonable accommodations to employees with disabilities and impose accessibility requirements on public accommodations. So right off the bat, mainly I just want to stay focused to that one portion in regards to employers and employees who are, you know, trying to get a job with a disability. And let me just say right off the bat that as a person with a physical disability, I mentioned this in my previous videos that I do have a disability. More specifically, I do suffer from a neuromuscular disorder, specifically a mitochondrial myopathy. When I was born, I used to walk like a ballerina, like on my tiptoes, and it wasn't until I was 10 years old when I got surgery on my Achilles tendon, where they were able to kind of make my heel finally touch the floor and kind of walk like a normal person. But what a mitochondrial myopathy really does, it kind of affects all the red blood cells in my body. And to not get really scientific here, because it's going to make this video very long, just to keep it brief, what I basically have are weak bones and weak muscles. So my ability to really carry a lot of heavy objects is very limited. I cannot carry more than 10 pounds. I can't carry really anything over my head. I can't even stretch my own arms over my head because of just the way my bone structure is and just how stiff my muscles really get. So it's very hard for me to even raise my hands over my head. I can't bend down, mainly because my muscles don't allow me to do that. If I fall to the ground, I might need assistance from someone to help me up, or I just can, you know, lean onto a surface and pull myself up that way. Bending down, crouching, like I mentioned, it's not possible. Going upstairs is very difficult unless I use like this, you know, poles and stuff like that. So to keep it brief, basically anything that requires physical, you know, abilities, lifting, climbing up stuff, running, it's gonna be very difficult for someone like myself. So like I mentioned, you know, being born with a disability pretty much made a lot of things difficult that a lot of you might not be, you know, able to really understand, considering that you were probably born normal. Thankfully you guys, you probably never had to deal with the stuff that I had to deal with. And mainly when I was growing up, it was very difficult to really adjust to adulting, especially when you're finding a job, because the more I started to apply to jobs, the more I started to realize just how shady some companies really are. Like, they say, they stand diversity, that's their creed, that they want, have diversity. They give people with, color, people with disabilities the opportunity to work. But the more you really go through the whole hiring process, the more you start to realize that all of that is bullshit. And I have that actually happened to me quite a few times, where I will go to an interview, and the moment I mention that I have a disability, it will feel like a whole curtain will just close under me, almost like a like a play, really. When they have the curtain call, that's when the show is over. That's kind of what it felt like to me. Like, the moment I mentioned that, interview was over, whatever, we're not going to get you. Well, how they always used to say, we have other candidates to interview, right? We all probably heard that maybe once or twice in our lifetime. But yeah, so, and don't get me wrong, mentioning that you have a disability is totally not something that you have to do. It's not against the law, and if you choose not to disclose that. But I grew up in a family where my parents have always been very supportive, and they always told me to never be ashamed or embarrassed of what I have. So and with that mentality, I always thought, being honest and as authentic as possible was always the best policy. And that's why I figured, what, let me just be honest and open about this situation, so there wouldn't be any surprises, later on when, I do get hired, and, like, say, I fall down somewhere, and they'll be like, well, why can't this guy get up, right? And I just figured it will make things so much more easier and smoother if I just say it right off the bat. But I figured, I found out, like I mentioned, the hard way, that's kind of really been a determinant to my success, really, because the moment I mentioned that, it's almost like, you can't really prove that they're not hiring you because of your disability. They can just simply say they found a better candidate that best suited the position, which that sounds really harmful, and it's really annoying, because I know, like I mentioned, I'm not the only one that has a disability, and I know there's a lot of people out there that have been going through this issue as well, where they'll apply for jobs and they will get the same treatment, where they'll be like, oh, we decided to pursue a different candidate who was a better fit. And it's very frustrating, man. It's very frustrating. It's very discouraging at the same time, because it kind of makes you feel like there's something wrong with you and something wrong with your skill set, that that you probably start to really think like maybe they're right, maybe I can't actually do the job. So it's very demoralizing, really, and it's very unfortunate. It shouldn't be that way, but people with disabilities, the more you start to really apply and get denied, get denial after denial, you really start to really see it that way, that there's no other real answer, maybe to really say why you were denied the opportunity, other than the fact that you are disabled. And yeah, so it's very unfortunate. It's a very cruel reality for us as the disabled community, because although we do have this law that's there, that's supposed to protect us, it's really not working when you can't really prove anything, because it's basically just hearsay, he said, she said type of thing. You can't really prove anything, and it makes it even more frustrating, because a lot of us who have disabilities really just want the opportunity to work. And I've seen a lot of people, a lot of stories as well, where some individuals try to apply for SSI or Social Security, supplemental security income, but they get denied, and they will have to fight for like years. I think the longest I've actually seen someone fight was maybe like 5 or 6 years. I heard somebody mention that they had to really fight for that, those benefits, which is very unfortunate, because there are a lot of people that really desperately need that assistance, and they're being denied. Like, I know for a fact that the initial application, when you apply for Social Security, you'll get denied like right off the bat. Like, they're not even going to review it, and they just expect you to appeal the application, and then after the appeal, you have to wait like maybe 3 or 5 months, and then get denied. And that's when you can try to have a court hearing where you can get an attorney involved. But that also kind of opens a whole sticky situation, because You know, a lot of the times, a lot of people don't have the funds to really pay an attorney. Although a lot of attorneys say they work on the contingency and they don't pay, or you don't have to pay anything unless they win. A lot of times it's just very scary, you know, just having to get a lawyer or an attorney to really back you up when you know for a fact you qualify for these, you know, these benefits, but you don't get the help. So it's kind of like you can't really turn to any direction. You can't apply for Social Security because you're going to probably be on that list for 3 years, and you can't even apply for a job because these companies and these employers are not hiring you because you have a disability. Very frustrating, very sticky situation. And you know, as a person, like I mentioned, I do work. Thankfully, I did get an opportunity to kind of work at a retail store, and you know, I'm obviously not making that much money. I don't make them, you know, that many hours, but I do have another second job coming up that's gonna kind of compensate for that. But you know, when you see stories about individuals who have the ability to work, but they choose not to, and they decide to live off welfare and, you know, just collect the check from the government, it really kind of frustrates you, you know, as an individual who works and who has a disability. And there's people out there that can work but choose not to. And I'm not saying that everyone that's on welfare, you know, are doing this, you know, taking advantage of the systems, but there's quite a few that do that. And I used to work for, you know, the government that used to help people with you know, with benefits. So I know, you know, I've seen things, and I can definitely say for a fact that there are a lot of shady people, a lot of shameless people, you know, really just take advantage of the system. And yeah, man, it's just very frustrating. And I've always been, like I mentioned, I've been trying to, you know, be on top of this since since I was like 21, you know, and I've been a very strong advocate in regards to this. Like, I've always spoken up about this, and I don't think it's, you know, I don't think it's spoken enough. I don't think there's a lot of, you know, spotlight being brought into the situation, because a lot of us kind of stay, you know, keep our mouths shut. And yeah, I feel like we definitely, as a community, people with disabilities, really kind of have to shed some more light on the situation, because I can't be the only one that has gone through application interview after interview, and then the moment you mention you have a disability, it's like, no, we're not going to give you the accommodation. Hell, we're not even going to give you the opportunity, you know, because we found a different candidate. And I say that with quotations because, you know, chances are they're literally just like, nah, we're not going to hire this person. You know, he's going to be a liability. He's not going to perform. You know, he's not going to meet the status quo. You know, we have a quota to reach, and this person is just going to slow us down. So no. And that is fucking shady, really sad. But like I mentioned, it's just a cruel reality for us. And yeah, so anyways, guys, that's pretty much it. I know this is, you know, this video kind of went a little bit long. It's pretty much just a rant, not really much of an update video. But yeah, so if you guys actually stuck around to the very end, and if you, especially for those who don't have a disability, and you actually stuck to the end, respect, because I know none of this really applies to you. Thankfully, you probably will be able to apply to any job, and you'll get it with no, you know, issues whatsoever. But yeah, if you guys know anybody that's a manager, or, you know, is the owner of a business, you know, show them this video, or at least, you know, give them the cliff notes and let them know that there's people out there that, you know, that have disabilities, but they really do want to work, and they're all we're really asking for is just the opportunity. Really, we just need the opportunity to kind of prove that we can get the job done. We might not be able to perform as fast as you might like us to do, but we just, you know, we will definitely get the job done. And, you know, studies show that people with disabilities tend to really stick around the company much longer than, say, someone that doesn't have a disability. It's actually been proven that, you know, people with disabilities do tend to stay longer. So, yeah, let them know that, you know, we just want the opportunity to work, man. And it's just, you know, it's just not fair, really. But yeah, anyway, man, with that being said, I appreciate you guys taking the time of your day to watch this video. With that being said, I'll see you all in the next one. All right, peace out.